go ahead and call this meeting to order. Are we live on that camera?
Yes.
Okay, great. Mr. Hyde, will you give us the invitation to do this?
Most heavenly gracious Father, we thank you for this another day, and we just pray, Lord, as we come here tonight to do business with this county, that you will guide us and lead us and direct us into the wise decisions that need to be made. We pray these things in thy name. Amen.
All right. I am going to make a motion regarding the agenda. And I can see the arguments both ways on this. So I think it deserves a vote. So I'm going to move to add from the last meeting an appropriation of $3 million for the out of the set aside for highway, to appropriate that highway. I just want to add it for discussion.
Second.
So that would be under it would need to be under new business appropriations. It would be B8. So that's going to be. I think it deserves a vote. I don't know if we not want to do this one.
Six, eight?
Yes, 6B8. So we have a motion and a second. A vote to add it.
Wasn't it already? No, it's not already here.
No, it's not on there. And I missed this because I wanted to re-add it after it failed last week. But I just didn't. This this is not typically a good thing because it didn't need notice. However, I also know that we've got, potentially roads not getting paid, so sometimes it balances out. But anyway, I'll put it to a vote.
We don't have a second?
We have a second. We have a motion and a second.
I want to be in the queue.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Lawing, this is an issue that directly involves you as far as the 2013 Financial Act.
Me too, 2012.
2012, yeah. There is, the whole reason this is hung up, it's my understanding that it has to do with all the financial changeover that needs to happen.
Do you want to discuss that, Barry?
This is why I want to discuss it. This is why I want to discuss this. Because there's several things that should have come out on the floor. However,
It's being added for discussion.
yeah, it's being added for discussion, and if we choose to move on it, we can move on it. If not, it's fine. But anybody else can comment? Just for motion to add it.
And I discussed it then, David.
Yeah, we'll discuss it
Okay.
then, assuming we get it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Matt, under my report, can we add an item here just to pass out the rules for the committee?
Yes.
Because you've got new members and I may.
With any objection? Without objection, we'll add that.
F under
Under
4.
And
Rules of the committee.
Mayor, I would like to remove 5B under old business. Just remove it from the agenda.
Okay,
Rather.
without objection? Okay, we will remove that. So, any other changes?
Motion to approve as amended.
Motion approved, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. I just wanted to note one more thing. I meant to mention this when I spoke earlier during call to order. Mr. Pomeroy gave me a call. It is his daughter's 16th birthday night, so he's not going to be able to attend. And I know I had shifted this meeting around a good bit, so I apologize for that. It was just difficult to get it right because of the week, so apologies for confusion on my end.
No sweat.
Okay, recognition of the public. Mr. Brad Williams.
Yes, just quickly, I think most everybody here's heard my spiel many times before, but I know the volunteer fire departments are on the agenda tonight. Again, I have some extra paperwork, the package and all, in case you don't see it. I'm here to answer any questions you may have for it, but I think it'd be a very good thing to look at investing in this fire department this year, or for next budget year. One thing different from this year to last year, because it is very similar to what we proposed, is we did go through a whole volunteer fire department ad hoc committee this year, where we sat 5 and 6 meetings discussing all the different funding methods that could go through. This was determined by Mr. Hyde being on that ad hoc, or at least being present during it, and discuss all the different methods of funding the fire departments. This was passed through to be most efficient. Then, of course, went back through HES, and they have approved it as well, or sent it through with a positive recommendation. So I'd just like a few minutes of your time if possible, or if not, you have the information in front of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Mr. Kevin Baker, then on.
All right, well, Kevin Baker, 424 AB Wade Road. The first thing I wanted to just mention is the appropriation of $18,000 for our grant writer or whatever that walked out the door last night at about 7:30 last night carrying a bunch of stuff that I don't know what was in her arms. But, I mean, I don't know how, you know, Ben Franklin said if you watch the pennies, the dollars take care of themselves. I don't know how we allow and where the records are to prove that this person racked up $8,000 worth of overtime when she's a salaried individual. I mean, I don't know how we allow that. Hopefully going forward, we're going to get some controls on this stuff. And I think the right move was to move into finance and start watching this stuff, because we're not watching the pennies, folks. We really aren't. The second thing is, I sit through a lot of meetings, and I have to admit, I don't catch everything. But we sat through Highway the other night, talking about the $3 million. We probably need to spend $3 million on roads and all that stuff. But the attitude that I saw, that everything was like an emergency and it couldn't go through a process of having a requisition written out and then a PO cut, that because it was an emergency, like people were going to die, that was the mentality. And when I see the mayor, I'm going to talk to him about it too. We can't be operating like this. This is just like we operated for the last umpteen years, where the sky is falling, it's an emergency. Move the $3 million if that's what has to happen, but keep constraints on it. Every other corporate entity, even, this is going to sound crazy, up in Connecticut, you don't write, the same entity doesn't write a requisition and a PO at the same time. You have oversight. I'm just saying. Watch the pennies, folks, because pretty soon we're going to be talking about pennies when the tax hike comes. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Baker. I see no other folks signed up to speak. With that, approval of the minutes. I entertain a motion.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, my report, I kind of mentioned in my notes earlier about Mr. Pomeroy missing, and my apologies again for the shift up. I've got no other major items. The mayor will also not be here today, so he has no items. So, Mr. Ron, your report.
The first item is the discussion of the ARPA report, and it says page 7, but I actually have 2 handouts to replace it, because I've been working with Dustin, and he's been spending quite a bit of time to try to get a handle on all of our ARPA projects, and we've been in several meetings. And it's this large, long sheet, and then there's a small, short sheet. Did you give both of them out this?
There's,
The short one also. Let's talk about the short one first. The short one, everybody gets a copy.
Oh, you already
Are all these, no, are all these the same?
yeah, yeah,
Let's take one at a time.
one of each.
And we had to rejoin the agenda, but we've actually put a, I guess, some tracking, part of the tracking information in there, and actually updated it somewhat. And the first thing is just to show you the ARPA, what's being reported to you, and the financials we're saying is agreeing 100% what you've been told the whole time. We've been looking at the actual, I guess, the management of moving forward on it, and a couple of things to note. If you pull out this really long sheet, and I know it's hard to read, the very top section up here is your ARPA projects other than the American Rescue Plan of $37.1 million. These other ones we're still looking at. We don't have a whole lot of concern that needs to be dealt with this month, but I do need to discuss, and part of it would be best to handle this month, and we could handle it in December, is to handle a couple of items on the American Rescue Plan. If you look at all the columns going across, it starts on the far left with all the projects.
Mm-hmm.
It goes by fiscal years, the amount spent, the amount budgeted, total. Not worried about that. What I'm worried about, because we're coming down to the deadline, is the unencumbered balance. And I want to go through a couple of those and a couple of my concerns and a couple of the projects that we have concerns with right now. If you go down through there and you look at unencumbered amounts, starting on the second set here, not the first, but starting the second here below the blue line going down, you see the 622,138. We're not concerned about that. Let's just say that first. Okay.
Can I make a pause real quick on this? Do we, because we jump down to the ones below, does it make sense, because there's unencumbered funds on each of these, does it make sense?
Those top ones we're still looking at, and we're tying those down, so we don't need to look at the very top ones, we need to start with the unencumbered here.
In saying that, is it your assessment that this $3,113,424 will be encumbered by the end of this month?
Well, the first one, the $78,000 is the tribal, it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
The other ones are in the process of being tied down, it's part of the SWIG. We're just trying to tie those down, so we think they're moving along and progressing. The next one, the Hendersonville Health Department, they're looking to join an MOU with the state because we're a sub-recipient, so that'll continue all the way for 2 more years to the construction. And the last one is we're actually, I think, in the process.
Does Hendersonville have a timeline on that?
Which one?
When that?
The health department?
Not the health department, the grant match.
Well, we're gonna go down to those, it's on down. The Hendersonville, you're talking about the utilities down in the bottom second, if we're talking about it.
Yeah.
But the health department stuff, we're doing MOUs, and I think we have an MOU on the agenda.
Is that the 622, David?
No,
The 622?
Matt was asking about the 3.13.
Yeah.
Tonight, I don't think that's anything we really need to focus on.
Okay.
We need to focus on the ones below the line.
That's fine, because I'm just, looking through here, and I'm like unencumbered, and to me.
No, you've got a lot of unencumbered.
We're at November, and it's
Right.
unencumbered.
Those we're in the process, we're not terribly concerned.
All right.
The 622 going down there, we're not terribly concerned. If it's not bolded or bolded in gray, it means it's not
So
concerned.
when you say we're not terribly concerned, that means that, so for the health department grant.
We're planning to join an MOU, and that's the matching on the health department. If the MOU
So
is
as soon as the MOU signed, it's gonna be considered.
as long as it's signed, sealed, and done properly, then it's fine.
And we think that's gonna happen.
What we're looking at right now, it looks like that process
All
is
right,
moving
got
along.
it. And I'm gonna quiz on all of these, I apologize, I'm not trying to keep you so
The
long.
next one under there is bolded, and that's the consultants. The 473, 481 is in there. We have some unencumbered funds, and I didn't list it because it changes daily. The only thing I say about that is, right now, we need to leave it. Right down the project, we have to do an estimate of the unencumbered funds. Anything left over on that, because you are paying some capital toward, or a significant amount of capital toward the EMS construction down in Westmoreland, that after, say, the very last of the last year, we will take whatever's left over with that and reimburse ourselves at the 12th hour for some of that capital funds, because we are going to do it in federal procurement. That's one thing, that's the 471, 481. Talking with consultants, there has been a lot of consideration on that. We were talking different options. Was it Wednesday, Justin?
So up to 473, 481, we can.
We think we've got it
Appropriate out of
handled.
capital, and then we can just reinstate.
We think we got it handled.
All right.
You go down to the 113,575, that's the PO when you was looking at the EMS facility that was on New Shackle. That was the original one, is that? Wherever it was at. There was $113,000 left on the PO. We closed it today. My recommendation, because we are spending money out of capital, is we adjust that to cover part of that cost over here in the Millersville EMS station. It's unencumbered right now. It's not spoken for. And we're using money out of capital, so instead of using the capital, we just use that fund. Because we're in the 12th hour, and there's not enough time to set up a project, do the federal procurement, and get it out the door.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Second.
Okay.
And so specifically, the motion is to appropriate $113,575, which was taken from this purchase, from a canceled purchase order, investors unencumbered, and apply it instead to, the Millersville, EMS facility.
Yes, sir, because we can guarantee, and then anything we don't use in the capital, we're going to keep.
Instead of using our own capital, we're
Right.
probably.
Because we haven't got the bid yet,
Yeah,
so we're
we got it.
assuming it's going to be less than that total, but either way, that's going to handle that issue.
And what purchase order was canceled on that?
It was the one where they were doing the earlier EMS facility where it had been designed, and it was a $227,000 $1,150 purchase order. They were designing the EMS station, but decided that wasn't.
On Airport Road?
On Long Hollow.
On Long Hollow.
The one that was canceled, that was what's been held on that PO this time until it was all settled, and we released it today. When we started doing the management portion of it, we started going through these and pulling them out.
That makes sense.
So basically, we've taken over the management of all these projects, this is what ours is coming.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
The next 1.8 million is actually EMS stations, so we don't need to look at that. The next 36,675 is what's left on the PO from the maintenance facility. I'm recommending the same thing, we move it up to the Millersville EMS station.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Before we skip on this 1.8 million, what was it, you went through that one pretty quick.
That's the Millersville that was approved the other night.
Oh, I see, I got it.
That's why it's not bolded. If it's not bolded or bolded in gray, then if it's bolded, we have concerns. If it's bolded in gray, I'm recommending.
I get it. Go ahead. All right.
The next one we go down there is the $173,119. That was for some stuff for the sheriff's department. Vest. We're still in the process of looking at the procurement on that. We think we can get the rest of it through, but there was a request the other day for a sole provider requesting it. It may have to go through federal procurement. We will come back next month if we can't make the federal procurement and ask to allocate it up to the health EMS and allocate regular capital.
Yeah, okay.
But right now, we want to leave it alone.
We're gonna take this next month to try to figure out.
We're gonna try to see if we can get that
Sole
done.
source.
If we can't, then what we'll do is ask you to move that to the EMS and then move the capital money to this project from capital.
I'm not keeping up. So the Millersville, is that the sewer project
That's your EMS station.
EMS station.
in Millersville?
No, I'm sorry, did I say, Westmoreland.
Westmoreland.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, you did.
I apologize, but it's Westmoreland.
But it's.
Millersville's on my mind, that's what I'm
saying. You've been saying Millersville, but it says Westmoreland.
Sorry.
Oh, that's what I thought.
Say all those Westmoreland, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Even better.
Trying to get through there quickly, said a little too quickly.
I'll go back and amend my, or redo my motion.
Just to make sure it's super clear.
That we said it's Westmoreland.
Second's good with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
We will discuss Millersville, I'm sorry, I've got that one in my mind, it's one of our big.
All right, go ahead.
The next one is the EMS ambulances are $1,237 left. The project's done, we want to keep every dollar we can. I recommend moving that to the Westmoreland EMS station.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
The next one is the jail roof replacement. We got there's $430,000 left. They want to use it for the next phase. There's not enough time. I'm looking, there's not a prayer we can procure that roof in that time, the remainder. Also, there's a request for $40,000 worth of paint that we received tonight. I have questions if it was procured through the federal procurement or if we procured it off this point. So I recommend moving the whole $430,685 up to the Westmoreland EMS station. And if we need to do the $40,000, that we come back and ask for it out of regular capital because there's no time constraint.
Mr. Long, how about the Oak Grove facility?
We're going to get to it.
Okay.
We have motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Because right now we think the Oak Road's a small one, so there's not going to be as much potential funds in capital to swap out.
Yeah, well, it was about that much that we had to add to it.
Right, but we got to, but right now we're trying to just to basically move it into the bigger of the two projects.
Okay.
Just to make, for simplicity's sake. The next one is the Long Hollow project. It is going to be bid opening this coming week. We will come back to you if we are over budget or under budget or what we're at.
Wait, which one is that? Which dollar amount?
It's the 663.
Okay, so that's Long Hollow?
Yes, we're opening the bid next week, yes. We're opening the bid next
Drainage
week.
project at the Hollow.
Oh, the Hollow.
Somewhere.
The Hollow.
Can I get yours?
Yeah.
Why is this taking so long?
I wasn't managing it. So
I mean, this is ridiculous. We approved some of this stuff
we
like
took it-
over a year ago.
I say me and Dustin took it over this week when you guys after the commission meeting.
Like, I can understand some of this stuff, I can understand some of it, like the vest, for instance. We didn't do that until later.
Well, I can say I've been doing the financial portion, keeping up with it. I've started now through Dustin and the next employee keeping up with the project management. So as soon as you approved it Monday, I approached Dustin. We've been working on it this past week. It's been a lot of our focus. So yes, I can't answer why it's taking too long.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead.
Motion to suspend the rules to have the county engineer explain to you.
Okay, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I wanna know.
And I can't tell you that the actual
Yeah.
bid got moved forward 1 week because we had a question that came up and it actually changed the scope, so we extended the whole bid and changed the scope.
I'm not,
But that, it's not that, but that
I'm
long.
not here to like just totally
No,
keep us here all night, but man,
No, you wanna know, and I think Mr. Boyd would know.
so, I mean, the question is simple. And I apologize, maybe there's something I'm missing, and I'm not trying to be short. Like, we appropriated this, I mean, it had to have been a year ago.
It was over a year ago.
At least,
For the hollows?
For the hollows.
And there was some engineering before this.
Right, we funded it like survey design, so kind of all that together. I can give you a detailed timeline.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, we're at like 45 days from it being the last minute here.
Well,
So like, what,
This has to be appropriate.
well, it has to be encumbered, more than appropriated.
If it's already appropriate, we have to have a contract.
It has to be, yeah.
The only exception is you've got this administrative, and the administrative, we've been talking to, we can reallocate to existing projects, but it's an estimate, but the rest of them need to be on a contract.
Yeah, we're gonna open bids, this month.
14.
Yeah.
14.
Contracts.
So, I mean, let me ask you this way. Are you concerned that we're going to not have a contract on this? You do not believe, you believe that we'll have a contract on this by the end of, because if we get into December.
No, I feel comfortable.
So when do you think we'll have a contract on it?
He's working with my office with it.
Yeah.
We're opening the bid on the 14th.
And when is,
So it should be awarded shortly after that, once they go through and make sure it meets specs.
so 14th of this month,
So we hope before the 1st of December to have
So we
the
expect
bid,
to
get
have.
through legal, through contract review, and be back.
All right,
The only thing
I'm gonna put a date on here, and like, so it's December 1st.
Is we would hope, but here's what we run into sometimes. Certain language we can't take, so like Eric may have to go back and forth on the contract because there's terms that the county just cannot accept. If we run into that, it may take longer, but we're gonna tie it up by December 31st, or if not, we'll be back here reallocating.
Here's the thing, it's gotta be before this week, you can't go to December 31st. We have to have it, I have to know that this is encumbered before we get to the next budget.
If we're not,
Because if we don't, then like, we're gonna need to do what we're doing with that Westmoreland stuff, so we don't lose that, right? I mean,
that's our plan right now.
okay,
That's our plan right now. We're trying to move everything we can this month, monitor it next month, and just like the administration through the 2-year period, whatever's left on the administration, we're trying to reimburse for some of the, so we're trying to keep every single penny is what we're trying to do.
no, well, that's, yeah, no, I get it, all right.
Even
Any other
administration.
questions?
I was just gonna say, I think what you're remembering from over a year ago is we originally allotted, or allocated 700,000, I think, for them to do the research, and then all the design and everything happened. That's why
You did the architectural first.
Yeah, we did like 80,000, and then they came back, and then we appropriated another 600 and something thousand.
Right.
Yeah.
You did the whole amount as an estimate, and then you went back and gave them the architectural, and then they started it. And they did procure an architect or engineer, I think. Actually engineer.
All right, so bottom line here, you expect something by December 1st, and the drop dead date is next budget committee meeting. If it's not done, we're moving this over. Is that fair? Okay. Pull us back under our rules.
The next is the,
Go ahead, we have it.
No, just a quick one. Who's, and I apologize, who's Dustin?
Justin's right here.
So your new, is it, you mentioned him.
Let me introduce Dustin, and can he come up to the
Okay,
table?
well, motion to suspend the rules.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor? All right, here we go.
Dustin is he's doing the same position we're gonna hire to match off to work with Jen Oss and to work on these projects. He's actually right now the opioid grant and project manager. So he does 75% with the opioid projects as far as the working with the committee, the different contracts, the actually running the projects, and helping procure, do legal procurement through our office. And the other 25% he's been focused right now on these projects.
And I want to be super clear here, we are paying from two different buckets, right?
Yeah, well, it's even better than that. We're paying from 2 buckets. The 25% is county, the 75% is the unrestricted opioid funds, which is to reimburse us for revenue loss. So he can spend more than 25% of
That's
that.
fine, I just, we want to make sure that we're not putting stuff from the opioid funds towards just general services. And I appreciate what you're doing for stepping up.
But it's the revenue loss opioid
I get
funds,
it.
which can be used for anything.
I get it.
So we are accounting for that, but Dustin this week, he's been working diligently on it. I've been working with him every minute I can find. And I think we've got a pretty good handle on the ARPA. And then the next thing we're going to try to focus on next week in addition is to start looking at what's left on the park and a few of these other dangling projects that you've had going on for a long time, just never really got a resolution. The park, for instance, it looks like right now you wanted, I think it was from Jen Officer, was a request to go and explore additional grants, which we don't know if that's possible. But also you were doing a grant with the assumption we're getting the money back, so we're going to need to reimburse some money for not going forward to TDEC. Plus, we only had $100,000 allotted local, and we've spent at least $130 or $40 there. So we're going to have to come back and ask you guys for some budget cleanup since we're not going to do it with the grant. There'll be adequate appropriations, but they're misallotted, and I want to make sure we're above board what's going on versus just taking out those new overall allotments even though we're balanced. But that's where I'm at. And thank you, Mr. Becker. I probably should have done that. Appreciate it.
Thanks, sir.
Can Delvin sit up here? Because we only have a few questions.
That's fine. We'll go ahead and continue this part of it outside of rules if you want to.
The next one is below, there's $163,000. That is the leftover money right now on the water lines. We think we're going to need out of the $10 million. We're still trying to get a really good handle on that money. We don't have any concerns because several of the projects are more than that. We just got to figure out which one it's supposed to be allotted to.
Here again, David, what water lines are we talking about?
There was $10 million given for,
We did that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
they've got most of it tied down. There's $163,000. We're looking at it closely to figure out why it's not tied
But
down.
the majority of this, I mean, that one we're not worried about.
The next one's the Hendersonville project. Their understanding is this December, I think it's the 16th, they're opening their bids. We're planning to immediately after they open the bids to actually enter into the letter with them. So theirs is very late hours, but Hendersonville, when we talked to them, seemed like they had the best handle out of the water line project, so we don't have a huge.
So do we, I'm gonna, if they were here, I'd ask the same question. Do we expect them to have
Yes.
we
talked
do.
to them, yes.
I will call Joe Rewood tomorrow.
Dustin's called Joe a couple of times and twice an email.
Hey, Joe, what was Mr. Rewood's?
He said that he felt comfortable with the projects. They were getting ready to open the bids coming up in December, and then also they were looking at by the end, and they would look forward to receiving our contract because they're in the contract database.
So I'm gonna tell him the same,
We're drafting the contract right now, Matt. So the thing is, we're waiting for their bid to be open, and then we're gonna get the information before that.
and I think
Verify federal
we
procurement.
we did this a little later than some of the others. I understand that, but like,
We think Joe's gonna be fine, because right now, the only thing we really need to do is verify federal procurement and lock down his contract, which is already in the tractor with the consultants writing the contract. So basically, when he provides us his procurement package, probably we'll go ahead and provide him the contract before that. So he'll have the contract ready to sign.
bids go out the 16th.
Mm-hmm.
When do we expect to receive them back in?
No, the bids come back.
Or the bids,
Their bids are back.
They are,
Thursday.
oh, okay,
That bids
all right,
are that 16th, when they can get them awarded. We're just gonna ask them
That's fine then.
And talking to Joe, he understood all the procurement requirements. We're just gonna ask him for where he procured, the way we can verify it by the federal regs, and that's kind of where we're at.
All right.
Because these are sub-recipients, so we're required. The next one is White House. We've got it marked in bold because it's kind of wagged out.
Millersville wastewater.
You were talking about
Yeah.
Millersville earlier.
I went too fast. Millersville, I had you contact them, when was it, Wednesday or Thursday?
They were contacted on Wednesday, follow up on Friday, and then additional follow-up occurred at 3 o'clock today.
My understanding is, as far as full-time staff in the county, that was the first time they were contacted. We've asked them for their federal procurement documents to make sure they're following federal procurements. If they follow federal procurements, then we're gonna follow along the inter contract. If they do not follow federal procurements, because they've already started their projects, then we won't let it give them the argument. Number two, our big concern is, and we need to talk to them closely, they have 7 projects lounging in, and we don't know what phase they're at. We've contacted them a couple of times. We've contacted their finance and their assistant city administrator interim right now. And right now, there's a change of administration in a couple of weeks, so
What 7 projects?
there is 7 underlying small projects in this group of projects they submitted.
Are all of them, would all of them qualify for?
We are evaluating that still. That's why we want the procurement and all the information. We believe so, but we want to see it. Plus, we understand from them right now that they tell us that they follow federal procurement.
Yes.
But we want to verify that, because they're our subrecipients, so the county's responsible. So what happens is if you don't follow, there's a clawback provision, we'll end up paying it, or we'll ask them to pay it through the contract if they're not able to.
They don't have to,
We end up paying it.
we're the responsible.
So right now, my thought is they should have been contacted earlier when it was from the management portion of the project. As soon as we got it, Monday I had you contact me.
Hypothetically, where would we put this?
We would throw it up into the same thing, up into that large, Millersville project.
You mean Westmoreland?
I'm sorry, Westmoreland.
I'll make a motion to move this to Westmoreland EMS.
I'm gonna second it, but I immediately wanna amend it. I wanna give them the same opportunity that we're giving the other guys.
If you wanna wait a month, that's fine.
Yeah, I wanna have this in the queue. It is that this is moved, subject to the following condition, that we do not have verification that these all follow federal procurement rules and confirmation of, encumbrance by, open business of the next budget committee.
Okay, we will have that.
That's my second, somebody.
Yeah, I mean, we really don't need to make a motion.
Yeah, we don't need them.
I'll just have Dustin contact them.
Well, what did you retracting?
Well, I wanna go ahead and move it, so that's
All
my
right.
motion.
I'm gonna move my second. Cause I'm with you, but I wanna give them the same opportunity that I give everybody else.
We'll have Dustin to email everybody and tell them.
Anybody second it? All right, Dice for second.
We'll have Dustin to email them and tell everybody that we basically need to have procurement locked down by the next budget committee meeting. Hendersonville can go ahead and provide us things like where they've actually advertised and followed the procurement so far.
I just wanna be super clear here. I just don't want, we've had 3 of these now identified that are relatively large, and one person was here to answer. We're trying to be consistent. There is a drop dead date, and if it's not done, the stuff's getting moved. And we're applying that to, our engineer, we're applying that to, on the Long Halls project, we're applying that, to, Hendersonville, and we're gonna apply that to Millersville. So, same rationale.
So I keep you those two backwards. So the next one is the American Legion, the 500,000 involving Gallatin, and we contacted Gallatin now.
Yes.
They got back with us.
Got back with us twice, so outstanding communication.
So they've not procured anything yet, they'll have to do.
Correct, they have not.
Okay, where they at?
With that one, they're doing, within the beds, the stacks, but they haven't awarded anything, and that's where we are at this point in time.
Have they even put it out there?
So we need to procure them.
We need the procurement.
So they would be the same information. Right now, talking to Gallatin, it seems like they're moving along, so we did not bold and highlight it, but we have not got all the information from them at this point. The next one is White House, the same thing. We're in the same process trying to get the contract locked down, and I don't believe we received the procurement information.
Same, so where's this one?
225.
So same thing.
What is that project?
It was water line and White House.
Who's the,
A water line or wastewater?
It's a
Wastewater.
Wastewater project.
wastewater.
So does that mean sewer or is that storm drain?
Waste
Usually means sewer.
They presented the packet at the county, at the budget, and it was on the county, but I can't recall off the top of my head which one. I think it
so
was wastewater.
have we heard anything, what's the latest?
We've contacted them, I think we requested information, and they're gonna get it back to us.
So, all right, same thing. Like, if we don't have it, we don't have proof of encumbrance by this next meeting. That 225 goes to Westmoreland.
The Oak Grove Volunteer Fire Department, that's the one you approved the other night, we're doing that internally. It's in the, we've got the architect awarded, getting ready to go to the bid process. It's on that same time frame that was discussed, I think David's there, Gen Ops. We've got a very tight time frame. It's done internally through our office. If we run into a snag where we can't make it, let you know, we'll have to move it to another project. That's where we're at right now.
We're running out of projects to move it to though.
Well, you moved was almost $2 million.
Because the Westmoreland project's on the same timeline as that one.
Right, but I'll say if we run into one with this, and we're focusing on both of them. As I'm saying, these are, I wasn't managing it, so these are kind of projects that we inherited with the Monday. And we are monitoring them closely, trying to push them through as quick as we can, and make sure we're following the guidelines.
So we,
Motion to move this 50,000 to Westmoreland EMS.
second.
Is that where it should go, David?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
That's where we wanted to move all of them.
you gonna vote?
Yeah, any other comment on there, on the 50,000? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Let me make one point. You can do these as an interbudgetary transfer, but since it's the ARPA and the federal money, can we do it per resolution transfer between
Yes,
projects?
yes, please do. Mr. Klein?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to know from Mr. Long if the storm drain from the parking structure to Water Street and Gallatin would fall within the ARPA requirements.
It's not an ARPA project.
It's not an ARPA project?
No, it was one you guys allotted out of capital projects, and I believe it was joint with the city. That's one that we've not made one of our number one priorities.
It's not joint with the city, we're totally responsible for it.
Right now, to be honest, Dustin spent all the time he can and I can this week, and a lot of extra time, and, we've really focused on this first week on all these ARPA projects.
So I think what you're saying is, let's not open up a new ARPA project. Let's
Well,
go within the.
it wouldn't qualify, and we're out of money, and
That's fine.
we've already got it started. It's not been, it would have been federally procured, so mine is right now, we're working on a project. I know it's in the bid process, but I wasn't planning to talk about it tonight, because we've really been focusing on the, all the ARPA projects, because there's such finite deadlines on those, that's why we're focusing on.
Well, I wasn't sure if we could, because they're ready to go to bid from what I understand on the 14th of this month. If that's a 2-week bid process, it could be contracted, but we didn't do the engineering through ARPA. Is that a requirement?
We didn't do any of it through ARPA. We didn't do that.
I know, but could we, if we needed to?
No, we would have had to follow some federal procurement.
Okay.
And all that. We haven't.
So that's
Because it was never the intent to go down that, especially with that building, building already there, it's going to get very complicated.
Well, when we were talking about the hollows being an ARPA project, I thought maybe.
Well,
storm-
let me be clear, another reason why we don't want to do that, and here's what I'll say that. If you look at this right here,
Mhm.
because we're doing the PPE, and this is our main PPE facility, you've got the two, you've got revenue replacement and general, which is the proper ARPA. The proper ARPA has more restrictions, and you can use revenue replacement for that, but you can't use it the other way. That actual, I keep on saying Westmoreland EMS station is actually in the proper, that's why I say moving money over to there. That way we're making sure that we're not overspending revenue replacement. Revenue replacement is less restricted, so if we had have done that, it would have been out of revenue replacement, but we kind of burnt through.
Revenue replacement is not, it's not restricted, right?
It's less, it's less restricted, there's a few things you can't get for debt service, but you still do have to follow part of the federal procurement, which we didn't do. And the same thing is, that's why we're recommending everything go to the Westmoreland EMS station, because it is under.
Yeah, because we started that project under ARPA here. We followed FAR, so.
And it meets the proper definitions because it is the PPE facility. That's how it was used to ARPA, because we could have built it out revenue replacement. If you look, we don't have a lot of revenue replacement. We did things like, ambulances and highway department asphalt. We burned, or as a county, burned it up on those kind of things.
Any other discussion on ARPA? If not, I'm gonna pull us back into our rules and continue. Anything else, David?
No.
The next one's on page 8 to 10, and that is the health department MOU, and I think, based on my understanding from Eric, it was changed out in Gen Ops, and we do have the Gen Ops version right here to hand out that you guys would want to consider. No one asked Eric, is Gen Ops sending us forward, or does budget even need to consider it tonight? Did they send it here, or they send it on?
I'm trying to remember. Why we sent it here.
Why would we need to consider it?
It's according, if Gen Ops is sending it to commission, then no. If they're not, then,
Oh, it was because of the funds. The purpose of the MOU was to lock the funds in.
Right. It locks in because we're using the ARPA 661-400 to match the health department. The health department will not be done by December 31st, 2024.
So I've reviewed it, it's okay. The reason it's here is if you all sign off on appropriating the money that way through this MOU, because it's a health department, it's all state, they're allowing us to lock the money in with this MOU versus having.
Is the signature of this MOU, does that count as encumbrance?
We are a sub-recipient of the state. The big one on that first list is that grant, which is ARPA money. So this MOU is gonna help tie it down, plus we've got 661 of our ARPA money that we're using towards the match. Just like when we do the cities, we're signing in this agreement, it's gonna tie up the money,
Okay,
the same way.
so the answer to that is yes.
Yes, the same way it's gonna tie both, well, it's gonna tie both sections up.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be smart.
But there's two sections as
No,
well.
I got you. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Anything else on this one?
No, that's it.
All right, I'll bring us back under our rules. Thank you, sir.
Item 11, you
We
can read, I don't believe.
We can let him go, can't we?
Yeah, listen, you can go ahead.
Well, we'll have to vote on that again, I didn't realize we were out of, working the roll.
Oh, all right. That's fine.
I made the motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, sir.
On page 11, EMS was allotted some money for some cardiac monitors and ventilators. They don't need one, but need more of the other. And since they told you during the budget hearings what they were gonna use it for, even though the line items are the same, I always recommend if you tell the committee or anybody it's something, you come back and tell them.
Net.
Yeah, it's all net, and it's fine, it's just for
All right,
information.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
The next one's page 11, which is revenue monitoring, and, it's this nice little sheet here. It's got 2 pages, and Miss Allison's gonna hand it out right now.
Is 11 or 12?
She's gonna hand it out.
Handout is not in there.
Oh,
We waited long we can to get this.
Are we behind or?
We are in, good shape right now, but I have some concerns and I will discuss those. And it's predominantly due to reappraisal.
We knew that was coming.
Okay, the first one here is just a 2-page sheet, and everybody's got it. The first one you'd recognize if you look in the budget, it's actually in our budget docket, tells what funds got what amount of local revenues. Page 2, it takes these revenues, and it takes where we budgeted those revenues. It gives you on this far right column, how much of a percentage we collected the budget. Like the first one, I think we're gonna bring in like somewhere around 100.5%. And then the same thing, these would be additional or short revenues. The first one to talk about is current property taxes. I show a 761,000 potential excess. Could be significantly more, it could be less. This time during reappraisal, I've been in $1,750,000 that I've taken out of that, excess for possible appeals. The highest time I've ever found in history is $229,293.82 net loss. The thing I ran into is when you pull it from the state, there's 482 appeals right now. One thing I know is being appealed, and I don't understand exactly how we got to this point, is where people does various rentals. Say there's a company that rents many rental houses. They had all those down as residential. During reappraisal, they changed all those as commercial, which is a 25% change. My understanding is as soon as you find an error such as those was wrong, those should have been changed at that time. I'm not sure why they were all changed during reappraisal. There's a significant amount of appeals there. You got 482 appeals.
Well, do you have a number for 482 times?
I don't know how much of that appeal you just got. When we appealed, there's 482, and it just shows a
It doesn't, but it doesn't show you the actual properties, and so therefore you wouldn't see the difference between what the.
I had Miss Allison scan those in if you want her to email you.
I mean, we don't have to do that. I'm just trying to get directionally, like what are we talking about here? I mean,
Can't tell by looking what's gonna happen. But there's just a lot of them. I mean, that's what I'm saying, there's a lot.
Negative 229.
yeah, I mean, that actually sounds about right,
I think it,
$500 maybe.
it could be the 229 like last time, or it could be significantly more. It's according how this comes out. I think they were right to change them, but it does make me concerned why we lose that, or why it was not changed earlier when it was determined they should have been.
are these appeals that happened back in May when the deadline was, or are these appeals since then?
These are appeals that's made it all the way to the state. They went to the local, and they made it all to the state.
Oh, they've gone all.
Yeah, and that was just a snapshot in time I pulled them. When I pulled them, I believe it was 482
And
appeals.
so, just to step this back here, because I know you and I have spoken about this several times, so. But not everybody's privy to this conversation you and I have. So the general gist of it is that if you have multiple properties owned by like a non-individual, a company, corporation, LLC, whatever, those should, we believe, be counted as commercial. Right, and so taxed accordingly. And they were this time, correct?
They changed them during reappraisal.
Right, so they did that,
Is that a higher rate?
Yes, it's a higher rate. And so, but these folks have, up till now, been assessed at the residential rate, so you can see why, they're they're saying, hey, why are you assessing me at this higher rate?
And there's a law requirement to be changed as soon as you become aware of it, so I'm not sure why they all happened during the appraisal at one time. Doesn't make sense to me, because me and you look at that statute.
So, you'll be the most unpopular commissioner ever, I'm not voting on that.
But I mean, you guys did, but I mean, this should have been changed it looks like to me, but I don't know all the details.
Does that make sense, though? That's fine.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And I'm sure some of you have also heard about the property tax freeze, but it's not, I don't think it's gonna have a significant impact. So, Jimmy, explain the gist of.
Go ahead, just so that.
Basically, when you are on tax freeze, you are limited to 5 acres. When they went back to the state, system, they discovered that the assessor's office has been exempting more than 5 acres, so they corrected that. So it's increased some properties, some people's property taxes significantly because of the remaining acreage. And then I've heard some discussions that possibly they didn't get notice. I don't know. I'm not involved in that portion, but there's just some discussion right now about the whole property tax freeze. And I think was it discussed in legislative maybe?
It's on there, but neither party could be there, so it's been moved to the next meeting.
But the gist is that you are only allowed 5 acres.
What are the qualifications of the tax freeze?
There's income limits. It has to be, your house has to be on there, it has to be 5 acres, it has to be your primary residence where your voting residence is at, and there's income limits. Right now, they had one, I think I've seen had at least 9 acres on there, and they had it all under the tax freeze. So those additional acreage would not have been eligible if the statute cleared them 5 acres. The state came in and my understanding is the state discovered when they were converting it back to the system that they used to be on, these were wrong, so they corrected it at that point.
It has to be 65 too.
Right, and age, I'm sorry, you have to tell me the tax freeze.
Is it greater than 5 acres or fewer than 5?
So-
It's gonna be 5 or fewer.
So the 4 acres.
That's what I would think,
The 4
but I
extra
thought-
acres are taxed at
Right.
full value.
They should be, but what was happening was all of them on tax freeze.
So what happens if somebody, and I'm just interested in this now, like, so if somebody passed away and they passed that on to their, child, or, does that freeze stay in place?
You have to apply every year.
Apply every single year.
You have to apply, reapply.
It's applied for
It sucks to be young.
I think the income is 45.9.
Right, and it exempts several things, but it's just 45.9 if they can.
Mr. Klein?
I don't know if any of the other commissioners are experiencing this, but I'm getting bombed with phone calls and texts of people whose their net neutral property taxes have gone up. Mine went up 20%. My son's went up 44%. I have one constituent that their property taxes have gone up 300%.
So, I mean, I can explain this, somewhat so, I've got a couple properties, some are above.
Are they commercial?
Some are below. They're not commercial because I own them as a human being, in an LLC. But in any case, the way this, it's just, I put this out in a Facebook post, but it's just important to understand. The way that the tax appraisal is done is by tranches of homes. And so if you are in a neighborhood, so we set a revenue neutral rate, right? So if we're making $100 million from property taxes, then the state says, all right, you're gonna make $100 million from property taxes after reappraisal. But that doesn't necessarily translate to every individual house, because some houses have appreciated more on the market and some have not appreciated as much. So what ends up happening is that during reappraisal, the appraisers will go in and assess at a market rate, right? So the idea here is that the appraiser is going to say, we think that this one house is going to assess for more, or assess for $100,000 more, and this one is going to assess for $200,000 more than what it was. Well, if the average increase was $150,000, then the person who's across the county, then the person whose home only appreciated for $100,000 more than what it had previously been, their taxes are actually going to go down. But if you are in an area where it's appreciated faster, and you're that person who had the $200,000 difference, your taxes are going to go up, because it's a revenue neutral rate for the county. It's not a tax neutral at the individual level. And that would be, you know, that's what the appeals process is for. The appeals process is for you to go in and say, hey, look, you said that, you know, your appraiser said that my house is worth $600,000, but I couldn't get a $450 on the market. That's what, you know, that's what the appeals process is for. Anyway, I hope that, I'm stating that for everybody.
I understand that, but I gotta tell you, we got a lot of constituents that are really upset.
Did they appeal?
They took the net neutral statement the same way I did, which was, it may change a few bucks, but it's not gonna change $450. So, you know, my property taxes in 4 years have gone up 1,000, they went up twice.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm just saying it's gonna be a problem, so we don't have to say any more about it.
Mr. Warren, go ahead.
We are down to the financial statement memos, the same, the financial statement will be available, on the website, and then there's the transfers on page 13 and 14.
Motion.
I'll second, but then I'll second. Just to make sure there's
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and this would probably be addressed to Mr. Lawing, the bottom section of the first page, all the way down about 40% on the second page, is following a different pattern of C's and D's, and I imagine that means credit and debit?
Yes.
Okay. I don't even understand, you know, one says janitorial service, actually 3 of them do, and then TIC cloud service.
Those are the libraries.
Is that
Yes,
that kind of thing is libraries?
Yes, because the Hendersonville librarian, budgeted for, she got approval, she thought because she applied for the cloud service, she had to put her library collection in the cloud that she was getting, but she had received the money, so she sent the money.
Now, is that all Hendersonville Library?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's a different section of Henderson. We
Yes.
got HVAC for $20 grand.
Yeah, that's.
County buildings, and it's just Hendersonville.
But we own half of the Hendersonville Library, right?
The county has been picking up the repairs at the library.
And that would be operational. We
Yeah.
pretty much do all the operational. Hendersonville gives us
$50,000
$50,000 a year that they usually use for books, so
Okay.
county covers all the costs.
Yeah, I was just curious why they're in 2 separate places if they're all the same.
What's,
Hendersonville Library.
And the janitor had to do with,
This is HVAC and roof and all that stuff.
Right.
This is
Yeah.
janitorial
Just,
and services and stuff.
but the janitorial also had to do with her as well.
I have a question, Mr. Warren. Are we good? Do you have any others on Hendersonville Library transfer?
No.
Oak Grove Volunteer Fire Department, 109.
It's to move the architectural cost. Because we put it all under construction until we figure out what the cost of the architect is and move it over to architectural.
Okay, so we're just,
This between.
so we put it from buildings to.
To architectural, right. We have one that's called building construction.
All right, that's fine, that's fine.
I have a question, David. On this page, on the balance sheet, the cash on hand at the libraries, is that from fines, et cetera?
Yes, and they carry so much to make change.
Oh, okay, all right, thank
And then
you.
it could be a little bit higher if they have a receipt at the end of the year they haven't turned over with them.
Okay, all right, thank you.
We have a motion and a second on this one.
The last 3 pairs, is that all waste management?
That is the bond that was issued to build the transfer station Communications Resource.
Okay,
And I don't think we have anybody here from Commissioners on there. But right now, it looks like they're still spending money on design.
and so that whole almost $200,000 is going to that design.
There's been, the bonds issued, I haven't seen any construction costs yet.
Okay.
Any others? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I lost my agenda.
So now we're at the rules.
Pass up a set of rules.
Yep.
And the only reason I have to pass these out is because this is a new committee by several members, and you adopted 3 set of rules, one by the county commission, which is on the back, and 2 on the front. And the first one just addresses the time frame to get items to the budget agenda, because I think Mr. Schoaf and the committee determined, Mr. Schoaf, a couple of years back, it was probably very prudent to try to have the budget agenda out at least a week before the actual meeting if possible. And then the one following that is the one that kind of clarifies that there is an expectation if there's a required committee that you are to have to run through the committee if possible before getting to budget. If there's not time, then the committee chairman is to, let other committees to contact finance, and we'll put it on pending approval. And then the final one is the one that gets the most discussion, and I brought an actual copy. It's the one for the second reading, and it's the one that was approved by county commission, and basically it applies to any new request over $5,000. It says it shall require approval at 2 budget meetings unless it is an emergency, part of the capital improvement plan, which would have to already have appropriations, or is by unanimous decision, specifically votes or directs passage with only one approval. And it goes on to state that it can has to give the reason.
So just want to point out what you highlight in yellow is, if it's an emergency or part of a capital improvement, it doesn't need to be unanimous. It can pass on.
Right, give me a second, right. In other words, if it's for like, one of,
So even if it's not unanimous, we can move it, it moves forward after one reading.
if it's an existing capital improvement plan.
Yeah.
Which that means something like one of the courthouse or something of that nature. And since we're discussing, is there any way that we can make clarification on all the ARPA stuff that we are raising the second?
Motion to waive the second reading on all those that we voted on.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's why I pass these out, I even forget about that sometimes.
Yeah.
You could argue that's part of some of those are capital improvement plan, but I always just ask if it could be argued the other way. I was gonna pass this out since you got several new members of the committee, and there were several questions about this in particular.
Anything else, Mr. Long?
That is it, Mr.
All right, moving on, I don't think we're gonna get an update on, 907,000, our county mayor's not here. We pulled off item B, item C, correction on the payback holdback issue. I thought we handled this.
Financial management is gonna have a meeting to talk to the department head, so they're asking for it to still be under old business, is my understanding.
Okay, do we have, when's their next meeting?
We're trying to call one for as far as I think 2 p.m. on the first Thursday of the month for that, but they also want to have another call meeting during the day to meet with
This is about 230,000.
Well, it's according to, it's anywhere between 300 to 250 where they go. And that was before there was a few raises and movements, so they vary a little bit. But on the upper end, 300, on the lower, I think 250.
Yeah, that was a little low. I remember it being around $8 million. All right, so they're asking to just leave this on old business for one more month?
Yes, sir.
Anything gonna happen if we do that?
No, you can leave it.
Fine, we can leave it. All right, EMA, requesting overtime funds for the East Tennessee deployment. So we had,
Motion.
we have a motion, and I'll have a second, I'll go ahead and second it. Mr. Long, any comments on this one?
My only concern, Ken can address this one because it may be a discussion, because I was asked by a specific commissioner if they have logged these in the current system which you have. But the thing is, right now, what we're looking at on your claim.
Motion to suspend the rules. This is motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Right now, it looks like that the employees are claiming 24-hour shifts for several employees, and it's not claimed that way to FEMA. So the question was, and I think it was our question, are they actually working 24-hour shifts? And we've requested kind of a, explanation of why there's a difference between their timesheets and what's claimed to FEMA.
So we pay like EMS pays from the time our people leave to the time we get back, they get paid. The EMS, their organization, they respond to. I've had the full-time personnel do it, and every time I've gone on, I'm salaried, so I get what I get paid, when we get reimbursed for that. So this is the first time we've had employees that employ, that weren't volunteers, that were on county payroll. I'm paid like I will pay like the EMS pays, and they get reimbursed for that thing.
You get reimbursed for the 24 hours.
Sorry?
You get reimbursed for the 24 hours. I
The
don't think
entire time. They get reimbursed from the time they leave to the time they get back.
your people are. Okay, that was our question. We didn't think they agreed with the
The
reimbursement.
only question I have is, and you mentioned this to me, are we gonna get in trouble if we're claiming one thing to FEMA and then another thing right in our chronos?
No, he's saying that we are claiming 24/7.
We are claiming.
We did. I asked Carla to put that in Chronos, and that's what's supposed to be in there.
Is that why I
When
claimed
you look at when you look at those documents, there are 3 canine handlers and 1 other person who volunteers, so they're not going to reflect anything on that.
That's not the question. Did you claim 24/7 for those employees?
I asked her to put it in, and she.
Not Chronos, to FEMA. Did you claim that to FEMA?
No, I've got to have it in by December 6th and December 8th.
Our question, what did you claim to FEMA? What hours did you?
I'll request what we pay. Exactly what we pay.
But you have dog handlers. That's why I'm saying you're not claiming the 24/7 for these employees at FEMA, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
We are.
Yeah, I'm.
So we can't get your documents, we couldn't get your documents to agree with what I was asking.
Yeah, you've got the documents. Oh, we don't have them. They don't have to be submitted until December, and I can't put that in until we pay them.
That wasn't my question.
Okay.
Well, you're claiming for these employees. So let's talk about EMS, okay?
Yep.
The county right now pays the EMS for 24 hours for all shifts they work. That's what we do right now, okay?
And it's
And
regular.
the reason you do that, and we pay them overtime after 40, is because you've got 2 options. If EMS is undisturbed, you're not required to pay them. If they're on call and they're in the ambulance and you don't prove they're undisturbed, then you pay them. Every county I know pays all their EMS employees minimum is 24 hours a day. I wasn't aware that when you send anybody on deployments that we pay people, everybody 24 hours if they were in a hotel sleeping. That's kind of like other travel. Generally, you send an employee to work somewhere and they're on an airline, unless they're working on the airline or in their bed, they don't get paid. So that's why I'm asking you, did FEMA let you claim all that sleep time?
The EMS, they do it and they get paid for it. They get reimbursed for it. I haven't been able to. And the EMS works a 24-hour shift, but not 4 days straight.
Well, we can't get your documents to agree.
Let me do this. I'm gonna say EMS on the side. I just wanna make sure that what we're claiming locally is the same thing that we're claiming to FEMA.
We will.
So that's the main thing I wanna.
That was the best question. We thought.
Whatever we pay them is what I'll request reimbursement for.
Okay.
Okay.
I can't do that yet until we pay.
Okay, I got you.
All right, Mr. Klein.
Ken, your letter said you had 2 employees, but you had 5 or something, right?
I've got 4 employees.
That went.
No, I had 3 canine handlers, 2 went on 1 deployment, and 2 went on another deployment.
Okay, so there were 4 total that went
Well,
over.
Matt Brawler and Carl went on 1 deployment. Matt got back, had to turn around a day later and go back with the Starling task force.
Okay.
And that was 6 people, but 2 of those were mine, 1 was a volunteer of mine.
Uh-huh.
And that's at the bottom of that request, right?
But Mickey went too.
Mickey went to, yes, sir.
Okay.
So there were 3 paid employees and 3 volunteers,
4 volunteers.
4 volunteers.
All right.
So a total of 7.
And we're matching up things. That's my.
Yeah, I'll
They're not all
request
getting
it.
paid, though.
Yeah,
I thought there was 2
Volunteers are
different.
not-
I don't do anything.
That was the,
Yes, sir.
any other questions?
That was my.
All right, thank you guys, we'll pull it back up.
I need,
No, I got it, I'm gonna make it, I got it.
thank you.
That was our
So
matching.
here's what I'm gonna do,
Match it.
so I understand.
Well, I'm gonna set about 25, but I'll do all 7 of my volunteers.
So I understand after talking to Mr. Widener earlier that we were were off about. He had submitted, I think we appropriated up to $10,000. Came back and said that the actual total amount was $11,752 at time difference. So I'm gonna move to, subject to submission to FEMA of the exact same amount, I'm gonna appropriate $11,752.64 toward that deployment.
Instead of 10?
Instead of 10.
And
waive the second reading.
second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You guys are considering that your second reading.
Well, he
I
raised
changed
the
it
price.
just to, yeah, because you raised it.
Right, but you're gonna consider that your second reading, or you?
I just waived the second, I put it as part of it to waive the second reading. All right, okay, good, we're on new business. Education, Canyon Multi Project,
This is, if I may.
yeah, go ahead.
So education. Motion approved.
Second, all right, go ahead.
Yeah.
So this is just our education committee meeting. Instead of coming in for a 2-minute meeting, I moved it to the commission night. So this is on here, so that's why it says pending our approval. So, it's just law, it's just a copy of Canyon contract. It's very simple.
All right,
So,
motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Election Commission, 2578 from general fund, to budget shortfalls to the county commission, not funding budget compliance to
That was already true.
Yeah, I was wanting
Yeah,
an
do we have
explanation
well, motion to discuss,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
So, is anybody from election commission here? I actually tried to call Ms. Ashley, but to be fair, it was during the election, so I can forgive, I totally understand why she probably had better things to do than talk to me. No one is here, do we know where anything?
They've got the line items on there, but.
The question I wanted to ask is, have her personnel involved, do we have the funds to pay all personnel in the close-up shop? I mean, is there anything do we have any outstanding balances due that we can't pay? But I can't understand, I can't figure it out. Do you know, Mr. Long?
No, that rookie, they didn't come tonight. Most people were here, that's. And all I recall being adjusted on the budget was for the convenience rating and stuff like that.
It's not it's not a ton of money. I'd be happy to approve it.
Could you do the first reading and make another request for it to come down?
Yeah, let's do that. That's a good idea. I'll motion to.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Why do we have to do this now? We're at the very first of a budget year. We can check this out as the year goes on. You open a door and the next request might be $50,000 or $100,000. Personally, when I went to vote, I've never seen as many workers since I've lived in Sumner County since 1967. And I'm not saying that they weren't all working hard or whatever, but there seems to be a lot of money that's going to the election commission. We've got plenty of time to see how their budget, they may have funds left at the end of the year.
That's kind of been my question. I don't understand what the.
Motion to move this to old business and get an explanation from you.
That's fine. I'm good. I'll withdraw mine. I just want to hear it.
Do you want to request them make a line item transfer instead? We could send an email if that's what you guys want to request.
They can do that, or they can come here and just, go ahead.
I agree. I think that what Mr. Hyde mentioned and what Mr. Long said, I agree with what he's saying. Is let them do a line item within their own budget, and then toward the end of the year,
come back.
in the fiscal year, they can come back if they need something. But right now, they can just do line item transfer.
Well, we think they can.
Well, for 20, am I reading this right? 2,500, 600?
Yeah, I would assume they could.
So, yeah.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
line item transfers, the way you've got it set up, if it's between non-salary, I can move that for them to keep things operating between the months. Under the purchasing policy, you guys have not authorized me to move any salary line items, so. The question is, and I don't think he's involved in, so make sure we're on page 60. As long as they don't involve salary line items, which these don't, but I can do line item transfers if they make a request and bring it back to you.
Then that's fine. Yeah, just do, let's do it that way. We doing it old business then? Well,
Or kill 'em.
just
killing it.
we're gonna kill it,
Okay.
and then we're gonna ask Mr. Long to just say, hey, can you do this with a line item transfer?
Yeah, I was just keeping up with the agenda, so that was it.
And look, if there's some other, you know, Miss Ashley can bring it back and come back. That truly is an emergency. Okay. So this, moving on to the next one here,
Can you explain that one?
yes, I mean, I've gotten the backstory, but.
The employee has a significant amount of comp time, which I never, wasn't involving my office, and they had a significant amount of accumulated, vacation time. They quit, actually resigned to the county mayor. We used them this last week pretty much to try to gather information. That was kind of my whole involvement. So right now, my department's gonna have a real difficult time. We're already running heavy on overtime, and we need to hire somebody for the grant project accountant without waiting another 6 months.
So is this, have we verified that this is?
The time's in Chronos, and this is the way it works. Chronos has the time you log in and out, and it does the calculations. In finance, for instance, if I have people working over, we require you to put an explanation. They don't require that in construction and development of the mayor's office. So I don't know exactly what she was doing during the time, and I can't speak for it.
I mean, this has probably been accumulated over years, so.
Several years.
What kind of guardrails can we put on this? Because this is not the only one that I've heard about. I want to make sure the county, they all may be legitimate, but we need to have guardrails to keep us from going off the road on some of these things. Do they have to take it within a certain period of time? Do you stop after so much money, or what?
You can't earn over 160, which would be 240 a time and a half comp time. You have to really, when you do an appointment, the employee has to have an agreement, and you reasonably have to let them use it. Our policy allows you to accumulate up to 240 hours. Our personnel policy allows you to carry 6 weeks of vacation, so it's within those policies. My office, it's not a requirement of personnel. We have an additional control. Anybody works there, we make you put on your Chronos system what you're doing, where we keep a record of what you're working on. But we're in finance, we keep probably more control than average. To answer your question, that's the two controls. The other one is you cannot pay hourly employees as exempt, but you can pay exempt employees hourly. A lot of the employees that would qualify as exemption because the county historically hasn't paid market salaries actually earn comp time. So there's a widespread practice in the county, if you're not a department head, a significant number of employees that are exempt on comp time. That was kind of from Lori actually about her assistant. Some of the other people are still.
I saw that.
The other assistants do earn comp time, and she asked me so I give her a fair answer about that. That's why my name was in there. I didn't answer that question fairly.
How would we go about then looking at this and correcting it? Who in the past history of the commission has delved into this to just see what needs to be done?
Really nobody, and generally it comes up on the person that lets them, they're in their department, so this would have came back on the mayor or the planning, but it came back on my office because they transferred and then quit immediately.
I mean policy.
You've got a countywide personnel policy. You could put some controls out to document comp time, and you could even lower the comp time and make more overtime. The question comes back with those elected officials. There's kind of probably some question of even trying to do that. If it's within their budgetary line items, and within their personnel policy, they can earn the comp time. The issue is if they violate their budget, you wouldn't have to appropriate the funds. It'd be kind of finding it out there in the line items even to require layoffs. But your controls are generally your budget. So if it would have been in my office and they would have quit, I would have had to come here and explain to you why I had 240 hours of comp. And to be honest with you guys, we, in my office, run overtime, and we are running a lot of comp and do the overtime, but we do try to burn it down. But right now, we're just, so that is going on in our office.
Mr. Ryder.
One other question, since we have no personnel committee, and now no personnel department, this is wide open, as far as how guidelines are set on this.
Personnel policy, the personnel department really never even got involved in that. Really,
They didn't get involved in anything.
there's a mechanism to change the county-wide personnel policy, and there's a mechanism for each elected official's personnel policy. I don't think of any way you could require the elected officials to document and do that stuff. You could put it under the regular county personnel policy, but that would exclude like the sheriff and several of those. The sheriff, I'm saying sheriff because he's elected, one I can think of off the top of my head, trustee, constitutional. They can have their own personnel policy, and even the mayor can have an office for his office specific too, which he doesn't, or the assessor don't have to. So you're kind of running into it's a county government issue, but your big control is budgetary control. So if the office lets people earn it, don't document it well, comes asking you guys for money, your thing is not to approve it, and they're required to stick within that budget. So they have to.
The last statement I'd like to make, I would hope that our budget chairman, it looks like that it's all circling back around here, that our budget chairman would take this issue up, whether it be a special committee to look at it or whatever. But if that's not done, I'd like to see from the commission level some kind of committee to examine this, because we're getting some, if the public knew some of these large amounts of money that people were walking away with, I think they'd be very disturbed. So I'd like to ask the budget committee chairman to look at this.
I mean, I've got a simple solution for it. The problem is I just don't know it. Well, I've got some thoughts. Let me get the guys in queue, and I'm going to respond to it. Go ahead, Mr. Conlon, Mr. Becker.
Okay, was this employee on a salary?
This is what's going on here. There's a couple of things. The way it works for any salary employee, you're earning sick and vacation time. Your vacation time, you can earn up to 6 weeks and carry it. So when you quit, you're eligible to be paid out for vacation. That portion, yeah, she's carrying that. Yes, she don't.
That's our policy, the 6 week?
Yes.
That's not a state or a federal?
No. And it used to be 4, and it was extended to 6. But I think I'm going to try 6 is correct. But I may not be sure. I'll verify that tomorrow. But either way, we'll pay them the correct amount. The comp thing is what's going on is, in the past, a lot of people were earning comp, and when I got here, it was discovered that even some department heads were earning comp.
Define comp for me.
Basically, if you work more than 40 hours, you get a bucket that you record that time, and then you take it off some other time, or you get paid out for it.
Well, that's not salary.
So the thing is, the department heads, it was made clear they were all exempt employees, so it was immediately told the department heads to cease and desist. You shouldn't be earning comp, because it doesn't make any sense. But you do earn sick and vacation, so you're expected to work at least 40 hours or use sick or vacation time.
Yeah.
So if you work 50, you're just kind of 60, whatever you're out of luck. But if you work 32, you probably take 8 hours of vacation.
Salaried employees can still, you have two things going on. You got comp and you got vacation. Salaried employees, still get vacation and bank that.
Now the comp, what's going on is
Overtime.
about every employee that's not a department head earns comp in the county, except for a few, the assistant county attorney, the county engineer, I think magistrates. There's some over in general sessions, Dustin that was here earlier, and the department heads.
They do not.
They do not. But by and large, most people that were here, when they basically put their foot down, that only department heads earned, if they were earning comp time at the time, they'd continue. So my office, everybody earned comp time. Dustin I hired later as a professional, so he does. So I kind of grandfathered everybody because it's a big change.
Would you explain the comp time's 1.5 too?
It works just like overtime. If you would have earned overtime, after 40 hours work, you earn time and a half.
Go ahead.
And comp time only exists in government.
Go, literally. Go ahead.
It's only allowed in wage and hour in government.
How many, I'm looking on page 61, how many hours, it says accountants, is that somehow her vacation? Like what?
That's their vacation and a comp, and it says,
Was there's overtime on top of comp?
No,
this is all of it. The accountant would be for what she had earned as vacation time, the overtime would be what she earned as that comp time.
Okay, so how many hours is this?
I would have to go back and look. That was estimated what she would have based on what she'd been earning.
but you can't, sorry, I'm the one interrupting.
I just want to know how many hours.
Yeah, so, but you can't confirm that the total hours are under the existing policy.
Yes, they are, because it's in the Chrono system that would fit the policy.
Okay.
The question I think David's asking, why is she earning comp?
No, I'm gonna get to that too, go ahead.
But then my other question is, can they carry over an unlimited amount until they hit the overall max?
The max for your comp time is 240 hours by wage and hour and a policy total.
Correct, but you can carry over until you hit the max.
Yeah, carry over.
You got 240, you can just keep carrying over.
Yep, until you usually get paid out.
We have to pay that.
See,
You
those
don't get
30.
paid out for it.
No, what he's asking, if you have 240 at the end of the year, does it carry into the next year?
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's time worked, so if
You can't bill, but if
you'll have to quit billing at 240 and get paid overtime or quit working if you're eligible for, if you're an hourly.
could you request during the year to get paid for 20 of those hours?
If your
Or is that only when
department,
they leave?
if your department has budgeted overtime, yes.
So,
That's where all that overtime money's coming.
yeah, they're banking.
Well, no,
Yeah.
they're not necessarily working at that point in time.
No,
They're just,
they're banking it.
So in my office right now, just to talk about the rest of them, when I got to my office years ago, all the employees earned comp time. And that, right before that, they put down, said only department heads getting earned comp time, so everybody in my office earned comp time. Several of my employees are hourly, like if I've got somebody that's like a payroll specialist, they're automatically an hourly employee under wage and hour. But we have some that were exempt, but they were already being treated hourly, so we continue. So right now, what we do is let them build comp, try to use comp, and if we get towards the limit, we pay overtime.
So this,
So Dustin came in later, so I told him he was coming in as an exempt employee because he's got a
so
doctor.
this is a comment, or Mr. Becker,
Yeah.
Yeah, I do, so the comp time, if they have 240 and don't use it, it will carry over to the next year?
Yes.
So
You're
they
gonna
could
pay
end
them
up
out
with
of here.
580?
No.
It's not about 240 total, but the 240 we got.
So if you're gonna get one
A Terry just
Oh,
needs
you
to
get,
keep it.
oh, okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure, okay,
So,
just making sure.
Mr.
Because one time department heads were earning that, and there was, before my time, an issue taken right before I got here, there were several department heads earning comp time, taking off 4 days of comp time.
here's what, I agree with Mr. Hyde on this to some degree. I really hesitate to add another committee to do something, because we've got committees and committees and committees, but I also want to solve this problem. To me, it's very, very, very simple. We clearly need a line of delineation, well, some things are simple. We need a line of delineation between who's exempt and who is not exempt. And it needs to be very clear that if you are an exempt employee, then you can earn comp. If you're a non-exempt employee, then you can't. And so if you're on salary, you can't. Now, that takes care of the comp. You can,
I'm not sure, because here's what you're gonna run into, and Eric can tell me if I'm wrong. You can pay a exempt employee hourly, but not the other way under wage and hour. So under your state statutes, you've got all these statutory officers, so if the statutory officers have it within their budget and determine that somebody's gonna earn comp,
yeah, but we can't tell them that, but here's the thing. I mean, at the end of the day, if a constitutional officer wants to give somebody a bonus, is there anything we can do about it?
no.
No, exactly.
But we give them a budget.
But you can give them a budget, and what you can say is, we will not, as a matter of accounting principle, we will not pay comp to salary employees. And so, so then things get real clear real quick, right? Because if a county employee wants to try to pay comp to somebody who's exempt, that goes away. Then if they want to pay a bonus or do something else, they have to list it as something else. Go ahead. How about, I'll move for a 5-minute break. I'll just give a 5-minute break. Let's do that, 5-minute break. Okay, we are,
I'm sorry, can I-
oh, go ahead.
So what I was about to say before we broke there, a lot of good discussion, but I mean, is this something, this specific agenda item, is this something that we need to, I don't know if there's, I mean, do we even have an option to say no on this? I mean, just if it's within the policy, I don't see how we can right now.
What's our, law directors?
My opinion is that, use this as a reason to implement a new policy, not a place to start one.
Correct, so motion approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Can we
well, go ahead, we just wait.
Wait a second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So, just so I understand, are we going to,
I got a comment on that.
you gonna
Here's
do
what I'm
an
gonna
ad hoc?
I'm going to consider an ad hoc. It may even make sense to bring in we don't need a full HR department, but a 60 or 90-day consultant who does this. There's several things several avenues. I've got some thoughts on it. I'll bring out some options to this committee next time around, and then we can choose among those options what we want to do.
Sounds good.
Okay, so EMA 509, insurance, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Wait a second.
Do we need that?
Ellie, trying to
We
find
don't
out.
need that.
Oh, that's right.
So item 4, these are for library, these are passed through, correct?
They are matching.
Oh, these are matching.
Yes, but they're standard.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to,
Group and approved.
Second.
A through E.
any commentary on this, Mr. George?
No.
We're good?
I know
What are the grants for?
yeah,
They're technology grants. The librarians apply for them every year, and it's just based on their circulation and even based on
is this the
state
cost
supply
to
for
us,
it.
or is
That they are going to give us their matching grants.
Oh, I see, this is a
They cover
match.
the match from their budget,
Yes.
and then this is your.
It's our reimbursement.
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You're gonna consider what, no second reading because each individual's less than $5,000. There's other groups that do it.
Yeah, let's just to be on the safe side, Ms. Burgle, will you, consider that as being, waiving the second reading?
Yeah, I'll consider waiving second reading.
Motion
I didn't know
second.
you were asking me, sorry, yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so this next one, I'm gonna move to discuss, for the $1 million for the.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Lauren, will you go ahead and start, I have some thoughts, but will you go ahead and give us a little bit of background on this?
It came from emergency services. I don't know a whole lot about this disease. I don't know more about it. I've not really been involved. I can give you what we're paying them right now if you want.
So,
I can tell you what we've been funding for the volunteers.
yeah, this is above and beyond that, right? I mean, this is.
Well, this is the history for the most recent, in 22 fiscal years, 400,458, 23, 963, 751, because there was some odd projects, some, stuff in that. 24, 462, 343, and then this year, 680, 633 has been approved. And then I think they're requesting, $1 million.
Do we have it, what you're looking at there, Dave?
Now, this is out of your budget. I'm just
Okay.
telling you what's been approved and paid, and, they're requesting, I think, a little over $1 million. The amounts I've given you also includes, that 680, 633 includes about a little over almost $31,000 for the county library system. When it was originally set up, it was supposed to be a fee charged to every entity, but the county's been covered.
Here's my thoughts on this whole thing, and I'm gonna go from the top level down. Mr. Pomeroy made a comment that I didn't fully agree with, but I also thought he had some points at the, full commission about whether we are or are not in the fire, protection business. When I came on to this role, several several people noted to me that this, that the volunteer fire department system was going to be a constant kind of issue. And it has been, and I'm not throwing stones at the volunteer fire department, it is or previous commissions, it's just the way this has evolved. The truth of the matter is that because of the growth that this county has experienced, we could be against it or I've been critical of developments outside of city limits. Nevertheless, a lot of this is baked in at this point, and so it has outstripped what the volunteer fire departments were originally set up for. Right? I mean, this is over the past 20 years. This has gone from being a rural county to being a largely suburban county. It just has. So, in my view, the continuing this path is we are just kicking the can down the road. I have not brought this forward yet, but I am contemplating wanting to put onto a ballot. Let the voters decide if we want to put in a fire tax system. Let the voters decide. I have not necessarily, I haven't made that motion legislative yet. I don't know that it's necessarily what we're going to do, but I do want to ask get on the record from both our finance director and our legal director how that might take place here. My general thought on it is that it would be decided upon by only those voters who are serviced outside of city districts, so rural. They would bear that, but they would also be the only ones to vote on it.
Can I, since
Go ahead.
this is topic specific, I've done some thorough research into this, and I could find nothing that said there was authority to authorize or require a referendum for the purposes of fire tax districts. It's strictly a commission decision.
But you can ask a question.
I don't know if you can. That's what I've got to figure out.
So, I got to imagine that we could ask a question that says, just to get a bellwether of the support, right?
I don't know for election purposes. Are you talking about balloting at like an election?
Balloting on an election to state a very simple question, something to the effect of, do you support a fire tax to build, to provide countywide services, fire services to the unincorporated area? Just a question.
I'll have to research that because I don't know if you can do
Mr.
that.
Becker?
Did I hear you right that if you make it where only citizens outside of city limits could vote on it, then it would not pass? No one's going to vote for that.
Well, if they don't vote for it, then
No one would vote for it. Not now. Everyone.
Well, we don't know what people.
The vast majority in city limits would vote for it because they're the ones currently paying all the, well, not all, but a lot of their tax money is, they're paying city taxes for fire service, and then some of their county taxes going to the volunteer fire service. So they're getting
but the county
tax.
Go ahead.
Right.
At the conference last year, I sat during insurance ISO class, and one of the commissioners that I met was from Bradley County, which is Cleveland, Tennessee, and they have a county fire service. And I'm just saying that is a good, they're the only county in the state of Tennessee to have it. So they employ, that's not like a fire tax district, but they employ.
No, the county, and I know it can be done. It's just,
Well, it's a good point of reference. And I'm willing to look into it.
I just genuinely, I would like to know if we could put something on the ballot, because here's, the reason I'm saying it this way is that we're gonna keep kicking this can down the road, over and over and over again, and at some point, it's just not the right solution. But I also, I also don't know that it's right. The inverse of what you just said is also true. Like, you and I represent, city districts, and so I wouldn't want to vote on putting a tax on, just a certain area without those folks getting a say in what they want.
Everyone does.
And that is-
If you can assume that let's just say you can, you're gonna kick this down the road for 2 years?
Because we're entering into a non-election year and a special referendum.
Well, I mean, it's been kicked down the road for 15 years,
I mean, that's fine, I just wanted to understand the timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Your districts are gonna have a very high tax rate, because they're only the unincorporated area, because the cities already pay taxes for all their fire protection. So it'd be exclusively a tax to that district for their fire protection, so.
And if we do create one, that creates a whole bunch of new liability for the county.
I think it creates a fire department.
Yes,
No, it would create a fire. That's what we're talking about
And
here.
it
is creating
eliminates
a
the
fire.
volunteer fire department, and then we're gonna have something besides, at a minimum, EMS that will run.
You would.
Well, this comes down to dollars as well. I mean, I delivered a check. I've been given $500 a year to Southeast. But they told me if every household gave $60 a year, they'd be swimming in money. I think it's a matter of educating the public. Because if there was a campaign, either by the county or by the volunteer fire departments to say, ISO numbers matter in your insurance bill. And if you give $60 to a volunteer fire department, you'll probably save $300 on your house insurance. That's kind of what swung me around.
There's no better way to educate somebody though than to have something on the ballot where they have to go, give a thing one way, because then people care.
I think it'll be on full complement.
Anyway, I don't know that we need to do, I don't know that I want to appropriate this $1 million. I want to solve the problem. And I don't think doing this solves the problem. Like, it
kicks the can
just
further
keeps
down
kicking
the
the can
road.
down the road.
We need to bring it to a head, and go one way or the other.
So, does anybody want to make a motion on this?
I have a question. Is the $1 million year over year? Is it $1 million a year?
This $1 million ask is also contingent upon us executing the contract with them.
Okay.
I'm not ready to do it. We're just slow walking ourselves down into something, like, we're gonna do something, let's do it, as opposed to, okay, now we're executing a contract. At some point, you execute a contract with an organization and you give them, like, I think Mr. Pomeroy in his commentary, you start to get a lot closer to, we're backing into having a fire department that is legally, a county function. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to hear from the stage of Sumner County. Do you have any thoughts on this, Mr. Hyde?
Oh, I didn't know who you were talking to. I really don't. I was sitting here listening to everything being said. I have a concern with it because I've been here long enough, as these gentlemen know, several years back, we were given 5,000, 10,000 to each department, and now we are seeing huge amounts of money. My district, there are not very many of our commission districts, but mine is one that is 100% city. And I just paid my city property tax, and it's fire, police, everything. So what we're doing, and the only thing that I'm thinking in my mind is that I'm putting on the citizens within the city limits a tax for service for what's happening in the county. And I want to help. I don't want them to be without service, but I'm like
will say I agree with Mr. Becker that this is something that we will have to do. This would be a commission decision more than a ballot referendum.
Oh, no, I know it would be a ballot I'm not suggesting that the ballot would be the action. I'm suggesting that the ballot would be just a yes or no question.
I don't think you can have a
I don't think you can have
because it enacts an action. It imports, but you can't. It makes it.
and when it appears on an election ballot, it's gonna confuse them.
You could have community meetings, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Budget Chairman. Go to all the local fire departments and have.
Well, the local fire departments are gonna I've been there a couple of times.
And invite the community
The community.
and to give them paper ballots.
Actually, I think, I may be mistaken about this, but I actually believe that you can put, an inquiry on a ballot. It'd be interesting to follow through on that, but I have heard where they have put a question on them, not obligating and inviting anyone, but a question. It was usually done at another regular election, but I think you can.
I'll have an answer for you.
All right, well, go ahead. I'm just gonna leave this in old business. I wanna hear what you do with that. Okay, planning engineering, 10,000 for general fund, for debris on Station Camp Creek. Is this the Draper House?
Yeah, and I made just.
We have this picture, yes.
Motion to discuss.
Motion to discuss.
I've got a question on this.
I got
Didn't we say,
We just made a few copies of their colors.
I just wanna make a comment on this. Didn't we say that this was going to be totally funded by like a private?
The inside the residence in the post office were going to be inside. The actual grounds were not. And if you look at the pictures, Mr. Chairman, I took 6 pictures, and I don't have all them with me, but I think I've got them memorized. The debris that is washing into the creek and has washed into the creek is either naturally grown from the creek, there we go, or it was, they actually tore down 2 outbuildings on the Draper House, but they never cleaned it up. And so, we have a responsibility there. See this picture right here? That was an outbuilding that got torn down but never got hauled off. And that causes things like this to happen.
So, I'm gonna say this in the same way I'm fine with like, this is me personally. I'm fine with doing something one time to fix this up, but I don't wanna like continuously, I don't wanna sign ourselves up to like, is this gonna, like, what is the ultimate, what's the ultimate solution?
Well, the ultimate goal is to see if we can stop. Right now, when we get floods, water goes 2 feet over that bridge, completely covers it. And one of the reasons is the bridge has a center concrete structure that runs perpendicular to the direction of the highway. This is the eastern side, and I believe that one of the reasons, and I've talked to planning and engineering, one of the reasons is because half of that is blocked off by this debris here that has gone down into, now we don't have a department in the county that cleans this out unless we get highway department.
I mean, I was gonna say, isn't that the job of, I mean, if we.
Not to go in that area.
Not to go in that area. Yeah.
So why isn't the state taking care of it?
Well, they took care of the south side of the bridge and actually all this that I was standing on, and they cleared it out. They took away like 14 truckloads of gravel and debris and stuff. We tried to get them to do the north side, and they said they wouldn't.
Why?
They just said they wouldn't. So, I mean, since we're out of session at the moment, or no, we're not, we're just discussing. Well, I can tell you that in conversation with Josh Suddeth and Marshall Boyd, they're not gonna do anything. And so I said, well, you know what, it's not that much money, and I took a contractor out there yesterday, as a matter of fact, and he said it'd be well under $10,000.
So.
You have a question?
Oh, yeah, I have a question. So to revisit this in the
Mhm.
timeline, currently, who is allowed on the property?
On
On the
Draper
Draper
House
that
property?
Yes, along
Well, it's county public property.
county property, and then we have this group that has a fund to put money in.
Yeah.
Our little gift, you know, they can donate money for Cottontown to keep up the property.
They just went out there 2 weeks ago and cleared all around the
So
house.
is this $10,000 just to go in the creek, or to take care? Because my question would be, why couldn't the people, those volunteers, take care of that themselves?
Well,
Keep it from ending up in the creek, because this is their community property. Like,
you know,
their
I haven't talked to them about it. I just felt it was our responsibility since we never finished the job. Since we had a demolition crew go out there, we stopped them before they took down the Draper House and the post office, and they pulled off the job and never finished it. Got paid for what they did, and so I saw this as our responsibility as the county. It is a lot of work. I mean, there are iron pipes for corners and stuff, and so what I was going to do is if we got the go ahead, if I got the go ahead here, I was going to talk with planning and engineering tomorrow and see, can we burn any burnable debris on the property? We need to talk to TDOT and TDEC and see, because as I understand the rules right now, if we're up on top of the bank, we can pull the sides in some cases. And that's what I want this contractor to do, or a contractor to do, pull that debris up, because a lot of it is burnable. A lot of it is old trees and shrubbery and stuff. And so that's what my thinking was. We'll just clean it up now before the big rains start, and then we'll know a lot after that happens.
So, I would like to sort of go along with your question a few minutes ago. I would like to maybe go back and revisit the word, because my understanding of what the commission approved is the same thing that you mentioned. So I would like to go back and read the resolution and make sure what we approved, that we follow that. So we want to just move this to old business, and then
the mayor did take down a tree, and his determination at the time was that stuff to be done inside the house, or actually on the house, would be done by the group, and that the grounds would be taken care of.
Do we have an opinion on what?
I'm not saying I disagree or not. I want to know. I want to go back and read what we approved.
Right.
Let me ask.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Let me ask this before we. I'd probably be fine with leaving this old business unless, like, let me. If we're talking about, a lot of this building is on its own road, and so whether it's a state road, I fundamentally don't understand why the state's not taking care of that. But assuming they're not, just in the interest of public safety, I think we should handle that. Now, there's a different question about some of the stuff that's on the actual property itself, and I do want to make sure we're doing what we said we were going to do before. So I guess, Mr. Klein, you know more about this than most. Is there any, if we delay this a month, is it going to be the end of the world?
Only unless we get a gully washer that floods that creek again.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that's the only
reason. Thing that, I mean, I'm looking at it, like, if there's a huge wash, this doesn't look like, it's not like it's piled up
No,
all the way up, it doesn't look like it's gonna make that much of a difference.
the only thing I would tell you, I mean, it's, what happens right now, like I say, is water will come over the bridge as high as 2 feet is what I've been told. And I believe a lot of the reason for that is because this side here was blocked. Now, TDOT did take care of that. It's still blocked on the north side of the creek. You know, you just don't know with water how much will put it over the top. So, do I think we're in jeopardy? No worse than we've been for the last 10 years.
Mr. Sidler, did you have a comment?
I just want to be clear on this resolution. It's very specific. It's just for the cleaning out of debris on State Route 25 Bridge and Creek Bank. That's it. So all this stuff that's on property elsewhere and all this other stuff we're talking about is
So it's
not
just
related.
it's just for the bridge?
It's just for getting that debris out.
Okay, then motion to approve.
So I just want everybody to be clear that what we were.
So here's let me be clear about what the motion is. Motion to approve this as is, which is for the debris that is in
On
the
the
gully and on the bank that may impact water flow, not elsewhere around the property.
Correct.
Okay, that's my motion.
Okay, I'll second that.
I'm good with that. Is that you good?
No, I'm reading, if you give me, I'm reading. The bridge and creek bank proximity, is the creek bank on the property?
Mm-hmm.
The creek bank's on the property, so then I disagree with the law director's opinion on that.
Well, we were talking about property that's elsewhere from the creek. This is just in relation to the creek itself and the debris that's affecting that water.
Here's how I can make it within. We can. Yeah, some of these pictures are not
Creek,
That's right. Some of this is not the creek bank. This is the creek bank.
That's the only point I was trying to make is this resolution doesn't encompass that other stuff.
Our property looks like it goes to the center of the creek line.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would be, I mean, it's not like the Army Corps of Engineers owns that creek. We own half of it.
So the house is over, the house is over here.
No, I'm standing in front of the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
your house is like here.
Here. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
If you see this key, Shannon.
I see, because there's the grid red roof.
Right.
Yes, okay.
I mean,
I'm not comfortable with that. We need
I
more
would like
votes
to-
to approve it.
Mhm.
all right, well, we'll take a vote. And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
All right, well, it fails.
Okay.
So,
So what do we,
well, I mean,
what do we want to see then? I'm just trying to get this done before it floods and there's more houses damaged. That's what I'm trying to do.
I mean, I think what Mr. Becker had mentioned earlier was wanting to know, like, the resolution that we passed, and I'm paraphrasing it,
Okay.
was that we were not gonna use county funding to uphold this, to take care of this property. And I remember that, in the spirit of that, I understand the argument. I mean, I voted for it just now because I found the argument compelling that we're just talking about the creek bed, we're talking about overflow onto the road, which is, I mean, that's a county problem, no matter if it was my house or Mr. Becker's house there, so. But I understand that, what we're really talking about here is we had a little bit of a dispute around some of these properties. And in order to get, I mean, I'm just gonna be honest, we got people on all sides of this doing this. And in order to get this over the hump, we said, hey, no more funds toward this. So I think that is, I'm not trying to speak for Mr. Becker, but I think in order to get some people comfortable, we'd have to either amend that and put that full thing to vote, or get an understanding that the funds are only going to be used for very explicit things that are very specific to health and safety over that road. Tell me if that's probably what is needed. I voted with you. I'm just saying.
I know. I'm just trying to get it done. That's, you know, we've been beating
All right.
ourselves up for 2
So
years on this thing.
We've got those two, tribal funds, AEDs, go ahead, Mr.
Can we just, if you could possibly do the first approval on this, and I'll have Ms. Allison,
All right, motion to approve.
let Dustin go look at this in the morning and see what we can do.
Motion is second. Oh, he doesn't want to do the way.
Oh, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying get Justin to look at it in the morning, because we were talking about using this fund here, which is, the opioid fund originally, and then it's attached to.
Motion to approve, but not waive. We have to say, all in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, number 8, another one that's, we just had some discussion. I'll move to discuss, appropriating $3 million from, the capital fund balance, which has been set aside, for highway, use for specific project. And, to appropriate $3 million of that $19.5 million, for, the highway department. So moved for discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So I'm gonna get my own cue here. Here's the thoughts that I had from the commission meeting. My understanding, when we approved this, there was discussion around, requiring, the highway department to comply with the 2012 Financial Management Act, which I agree with and understand. We had further discussion and clarification that there's commentary of, we're breaking the law, and I asked Mr. Lyons for clarification, and Mr. Lyons, your commentary was, and I'm paraphrasing, please correct me if I'm wrong, that so long as we were making positive progress toward this goal, that we were not out of compliance with it, recognizing that you can't just flip a switch. Now, to be fair, that's been 12 years, right? So, like, at what point is it going to be taken care of? However, I asked Mr. Lawing, and I remember we had a conversation behind us, and then I don't remember if this made it to the floor, and I wanted to be super clear with it. Mr. Lawing, please correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that you actually don't have the staff right now to be able to carry out what we needed to, what's being asked. Is that true?
They're asking us to do 2 things right now. There was a discussion about implementing Chronos.
Yep.
And implementing the purchase order.
Correct.
We went out and bid to outsource part of the Chronos implementation, and it came back that it's going to cost you, if there's any real problems, probably about $750,000. My discussion was the most, probably for just to finish
just for the highway department?
No, let's go back where we're at. We've got, as far as your ERP system, it included the Munis, financials, payroll, a lot of modules, okay? It also includes Chronos, and it includes the purchase orders. We've got the Munis virtually done. We've got the payroll done. We've got the vast majority of the people in the Chronos now. Everybody but Toby, or the highway superintendent, road department, is on the purchase orders. Right now, the financial management committee is wanting to go forward and try to finish implementing everybody onto Chronos, and they were wanting to do the purchase orders. Our plan was to do an employee that was going to work half and half on those. Of the Chronos system, which is the timekeeping, and the scheduling. When the bid came back, we were looking and considering that there may be issues you run into, the cost could run anywhere possibly up to $750,000 trying to do that.
But to re-ask my question, what, besides the highway department, what other areas are not already on Chronos?
No, we're not. Chronos is the highway, several of the statutory officers, but the PO's, the highway is the only one.
I understand that, but the $750,000 is for the Chronos.
Right, we've already got EMS, sheriff, this building, part of this building, so we have left like the assessor, the trustee, the clerk.
So none of those are on Chronos
No,
yet?
consolidated dispatch. So there's several of those. So to be the most productive move, for the county, kind of my thought process was, and I mentioned it to the committee, to actually take that staff completely, put them back over into payroll and concentrate of getting a much smaller contract with help on the implementation for the rest of the Chronos under 100,000. And we try to do a lot of that work internally and possibly put off the highway implementation for the POs until July 1. That was what I mentioned to financial management. That's where we're at, where we're sitting right now.
July 1 next.
So we can't, this coming July 1, because that time we're gonna have a budget process and we could ask for additional staff.
So this is what I was trying to get at in the full commission meeting, we were doing a lot of stuff before, which is why I brought it back up today. I realize the spirit of that, of the condition we're discussing regarding, the highway funding, but if we literally aren't equipped to do it, I do not see any reason to remove, to deny this funding. It's like, we can't, if our finance director, who is the person who's raised their hand and saying, hey, this is how we're trying to move forward, is saying, well, we're great, we can move forward, but we can't do it until July anyway, so I'm gonna make go ahead. So I'm gonna motion to approve this.
Second.
Without condition until July 1st. Second, go ahead, Mr. Becker, then.
I mean, during the meeting, I obviously didn't do a good job. People probably weren't listening to me about that point in the night, but, I mean, I made a comment about that. I mean, there's not staff to do it, so why are we even wanting to even pursue it, right? So I'm 100% on board and getting this passed without any type of conditions. So, anyway.
I mean, well, to revisit them July 1st, but for this is
So let me
Yeah.
make sure everybody understands, the reason that I don't say we're staffing is because I think right now, versus outsourcing the amount of dollars involved, it would be better for us to concentrate over on the Chronos implementation and save some dollars. That's the only reason I think, otherwise we could have outsourced low walk and we could have go ahead and pulled the POs in already if we didn't go that
There's
direction.
only so many things, so many hours in a day.
Right, and implementation takes a lot of,
Yes, it
a lot of
does.
their staff, but I do have concern about the MOE also.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too. Go
Okay,
ahead.
why did we set a deadline last time for October 1st?
I mean, I wasn't for it, but like I voted for it because I wanted to get it over the hump. And so in my opinion, we set an arbitrary deadline. And
Initially, the discussion was to outsource.
there was a deadline. No, it was for October 1st.
It was October 1st.
Initially, the discussion was to outsource a significant portion of this Chronos implementation and to basically implement the POs and use our staff, and half staff to help with the implementation. But right now, we're looking at the cost of implementation and we think we can significantly take down the cost. So we'll be very successful with it. But it's important how much you want to spend. If you want to spend more, we could put highway in there tomorrow, pull that person over into purchase orders, outsource some of the Chronos and put staff in next July, put down the Chronos a little bit. We could put highway in tomorrow.
So so I've made that motion in a second, but I want to make another comment here. And this goes on to one of our speakers from public comments earlier. Mr. Long and I have a disagreement of interpretation, as I've noted many times, on whether or not this counts toward MOE. If you read the statute broadly, Mr. Long's argument is that any funding from local dollars toward any project executed by highway, whether it's in the highway department budget or sitting outside in capital, still goes to their maintenance effort. I've argued that no, it has to be in their actual budget. CTAS has agreed with me. We have it on record agreeing with me. However, Mr. Long's kind of counter argument is, and I'm just doing this to speed it up, is that, well, that's just because of the way they're accounting it, because it's easier to just account for that budget itself. And, that could change if somebody, brought a court case, et cetera. So so to be very, very conservative, Mr. Long, it's like, we shouldn't, if you apply that funding, it could potentially be counted toward MOE. Now, here is my thought. And this is where it comes back to what one of our commenters said earlier. I think we should approve this, because what you're talking about for maintenance of effort is 5-year moving average. So $3 million divided by 5 is $600,000. This will not, even if, worst case scenario, they applied it, this would not, it wouldn't be such a change to MOE that we couldn't, that it's off kilter. However, it does, I think, put the other 16.5 million in question. So in order to solve for that, Mr. Long has suggested that we could take out a short-term note and simply repay it with that, and that would, because that note is for a specific purpose, would not be accounted toward maintenance of effort, because our funding isn't going toward the local revenue is being used for the note, not for highway. So here's what I'd like to do.
But the note was for the highway.
Well, and that's what I was gonna pass this out. If you read the statute, what it specifically says is it excludes state, federal money, and bond proceeds.
Correct.
Or debt proceeds, and notes another type of debt proceeds. So it says the moving average includes any local revenue appropriated or allocated to the highway department for highway purposes counts toward it, but it specifically excludes debt, that particular debt.
And the reasoning for that is that, it's understood that you have to take out debt at some point. This is my argument. We are doing this to catch up, right? Like the state understands that you sometimes have to take out a project that any department might execute, which is well beyond, above and beyond what their typical expenditure would be. But most of the time, you're going to do that through a bond or through debt. And so that's why that's out that way. My argument has always been that because we're doing catch-up, because we've been behind, this should be considered a project and not maintenance of effort. All this does is solidifies that logic by making it into a tranche of debt. That we would then, short-term debt, you're immediately going to pay it off. It's not like we're going to accumulate any debt over time. You pay it off in 6 months with the money that we have set aside. So what I would like to do, and I'm going to do this, I've got my motion on the board, but what I'm going to do is sit down with Mr. Ellis and Mr. Long and build out a schedule of debt over the next 3 years, whereby we project out a certain amount to be used for a certain number of miles. We take out a short-term note, it's paid off at a certain point thereafter, and then you take out another one. All out of this $19.5 million. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to bring it back to this body to vote on, because I think that solves all the problems. But I do still want to do this $3 million because it's not going to kill us on the even worst case scenario. That's not going to break us on maintenance of effort. I know I just said a whole lot. I hope it makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I have a couple of questions. We're 4 months into our new budget, just a little over 4 months. How much money, I don't remember, and David, maybe you don't either, but how much money did we allocate for asphalt?
What do you mean, asphalt?
Asphalt for the whole year, because that's what we're talking about, right?
Are you talking about what we allocated in the capital, or are you talking about what we allocated in his budget? In his budget. What was that, David? It was.
I'm gonna look it up right now online.
Because what I'm saying is, if we're only a third into the year, and he needs $3 million right now, how much is he going to need in another 2 months?
Go ahead, because I can answer that.
This is $20 million.
Yeah.
So maybe that confused everybody when we voted on, like, the full commission vote, the 19, so you do remember, so that's good. That 19.5 is for this. And we voted and we moved that half a penny over for.
And the whole purpose.
But now we're not going to give it to them. Some people don't want to give it.
And the whole purpose of it was, and the reason I set it aside was because we are going above and beyond mile for mile. The whole purpose was to catch up.
Right.
And to dump money in to catch up. So, yeah.
So is the 20 million for the whole year?
No, it's for 3 years. So the whole purpose was to have a 3-year project, and in that 3-year project, we wanted to repave every road that is currently out of tolerance. That was the whole idea of this, and so, of course, he's gonna run out of his budget ahead of time, because we're paving above maintenance of effort. That's the whole idea, which is why this should not be considered maintenance of effort, and why it absolutely makes sense that he's paving more than we expect. We wanted to do that.
So we anticipate he'll use about $6.5 million a year.
$5 to $6 million a year. That was the idea.
And that's above and beyond what he has in the budget.
Correct.
But it was 20, but we moved 500 for that, for the south.
I can answer your questions now. He had 1,214,286 out of locally funded asphalt for his budget, and then he has 1,785,714 that comes from state aid.
So about $3 million, and then another 6.5 out of the 20 million.
Well, he's asking for 3 million.
He's asking for 3 million.
I know, but we anticipate that he'll be asking for another 3.5 if it's an average of 3 years.
The back half of this.
So he'll be using almost $10 million a year, 9.5, 10. And of course, the contingency was that he was gonna have everything done October 1st with the Chronos and all that, but
It didn't happen until obviously he was on the Chronos. Well, he was only for POs October 1st for COVID. He's agreed to do Chronos, and he's already doing bidding through our office. So everybody said he wasn't doing any bidding through finance, he's been doing all his bidding through us already.
okay.
He's already done that portion, and, he's agreed to do Chronos deal, is my understanding.
Well, you haven't talked to him about it?
About Chronos?
Yeah.
Financial management, it was my understanding he agreed that he would do it, he agreed on record. That he would do the Chronos, and he's already doing the bidding, and he's gonna continue, so it's only down to the POs. And I just, I'm just gonna put it on record, if that's okay, Matt, with my discussion.
That's fine.
Put that on record.
So any other?
Okay, so what's the difference between purchasing and POs?
Okay, there's two things you do, right now we do bidding for it, there's a sealed bid for asphalt, trucks, whatever.
That's bidding.
That's the bidding portion.
Okay.
The other person's a purchase order, you come in, if it's a bid or whatever, you come in a purchase order, you request it through requisition, you verify you have budget, if there's a bid, if it's required, if there's no statutory questions, and, all the rules and regulations are followed, then we issue a purchase order, then you go do a purchase.
And then there's Chronos.
Chronos is your timekeeping. Basically, you go in and you log in your time worked and your leave using the Chronos system.
And he's doing bidding now?
He's already done bidding through us, and he said he was gonna continue, and he's agreed to do the Chronos, which is the timekeeping move from his system.
Okay, so has he agreed to do the purchase?
I don't know, I don't believe so, but that'd be a question for Toby.
I'm just saying it's a moot point till next July anyway. And in the meantime, while it's a moot point, let's get the roads fixed.
I just want to go back a little bit, just to kind of make something very clear and concise. The same legal reason I don't agree with CTAS on the MOE is the very same reason I think you can do the note that you were talking about. So, for whatever it's worth.
Well, I'm gonna bring that back. I'm gonna bring that back to this, like, because I don't see any harm in doing it that way, and I don't totally agree with the logic, but it doesn't matter, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we can do that, and it's a safer way to do it, one. And two, it forces a little more discipline on us to, like, let's build out, 3 years worth of tranches. So this kind of forces us to sit down with, get a pretty good grip on how many miles when and where, which is what I think a lot of people want anyway. So just let me bring that back here. This was mine and Mr. Long and Mr. Ellis's idea when we were all sitting there, and now let us kind of come back to it and bring it to this body.
I think the only concern I've got is the financing of it.
Yeah, we can,
Financing.
and we'll have a nice, we'll have a nice, more predictable outlay for how we're gonna you know, we'll do 2.5 years of capital, of debt outlays toward capital.
But we can write the notes internally, we've got a legal department, I've written notes before, with the legal department somewhere else. Then when the state get them approved, you get them to the bank, you can do 6 months, which are short term, low interest, and it gets excluded by statute, you know.
You know, and if we do this right, you know, I'll come back with like, hey, here's the next 30 months, and here's where they're out, and when those come, you know, you'll see one come up, and you'll be like, okay, this is the one we expect, all right, let's vote on this, boom, approved. This other one's paid off, okay, great, let's do this next one. It should be very easy to understand.
My concern at this point is the financial, committee behind this, or, I mean, is Toby got crews sitting there waiting for hot asphalt and you can't work? I mean, to quote you over and over again, is anything gonna break if we waited to find out from the I've not talked to the finance people.
Well, I just know that we got our finance director here, and he's saying he can't do it until we're fine.
What now? Not that I'm aware of. I think he said he was running out of money, that's why he wants to keep it up there. We can call him, we can call him on the phone.
Yes, I spoke with him, he told me that
He's running out.
he's running out, and now is the time to, he should
So
be paid,
I mean,
so they won't be working.
So I'm gonna, no, that's all right. Well, I'm gonna make, my motion is it is, waive second reading to the 3 million, and review the second. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries, back on the agenda. All right, back on the agenda for, full commission. IT Comcast multi-year contract, I so move.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Highway, again, multi-year contract. How much was this before, Mr. Long?
I would have to look, it's not a very large contract, 169, I think it was 60-some a month, if I'm not mistaken.
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, commissioner training, Ms. Bergdorf?
There's a sample resolution.
Motion discussed.
Yeah, I'm sorry, motion, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I was talking to Chris Payne at CPAS, and I asked him about the $600 per year that the, legislature passed. So for every county commissioner that finishes their 8 hours of required training, and then for those of you who were grandfathered in, if you do 8 hours, they have said that the county commission can, and it's on us to pay those commissioners who finish their 8 hours of training $600 per year, and it's an incentive for you to, for you all to catch up, and for the new people to do the required training. And so it would be a total of $14,400 a year to do that. And there's, in your packet, there's a little, and, you know, I like education, so.
So we have a motion. Motion to approve, motion to,
Where,
so we, no,
where would the money?
this, I mean, it would come from our general.
General fund, yeah. And it would be per year,
When does this thing start?
immediately. Well, we'll have to pass the resolution, but I guess this year. So we could do it, so to pay a supplement of $600 each year. So it would be August to August, so you would have from August of 24 to August of 25. And it looks like we can set the date.
And is this an online thing? Is this going to a place? Is this coming here?
It's paying it.
We would, finance would reimburse.
It'd be paying
What
you.
you would just prove that you
Okay.
finished your training, and finance would pay.
But do I do it at
Well,
home
not
online?
yet.
Do I?
Yeah,
You can do your training online,
okay.
and you could go to the classes, but the whole point was to encourage. We were at the governmental affairs, and they talked about that.
Right.
So it's to encourage the mandatory training, and then for the commissioners who came in before 2012, 2014 to do it. But
We have a motion to approve.
Well, if we approve it, we send it to commission, and then the commission decides
yeah,
up or down.
yeah.
Motion to approve.
Wait a second.
All right,
We don't, wait.
All right. All in favor?
I
No.
knew you would. I don't care. You can just not be educated, Matt.
I thought this would even be a
The captain is.
I was okay with your lie.
I wanna make sure that I understood that the last motion we made was there's a drop dead on July 1st. You had said that.
I said, well, yeah, I mean, this different thing. I said, I'm not putting it, for this first $3 million, it doesn't matter.
Right, because it'll be gone.
I'm gonna bring it, it's the next one, when I bring back that tranche, then we'll play with this again.
Okay.
Because at that point, you still are gonna have, you're gonna have to approve or deny these bonds,
Mhm.
right? So like, there's still controls over it.
Okay.
That was what my comment was about.
Did everybody vote for it except for Mr. Show?
Yeah.
So is this gonna be a bond
He's
then?
good with the.
No, this first one is not.
That's just cash.
This first one is just cash.
Cash out of capital.
You are, number 4, we've already went over. I
Uh,
mentioned that under my report, it's basically,
motion to adjourn.
Real quick,
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanna make sure we're all on the same page. So with the training money only getting 3 votes, it fails.
No, it passed.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
We'll make sure.
Oh,
is it majority
Well,
of the?
it needs
I think
4
majority
votes.
is the whole thing.
all right, I'm on,
Is if you have a quorum, then it's.
That's
the
not what
numbers
Mr.
are-
Hyde, I asked him before the meeting.
Majority of the numbers voted.
Yeah, he and I
Yeah.
both still support. Because in our first meeting,
here's what I'll do,
Our first
here's what I'll do,
meeting,
here's what I'll do. I will,
Change
just to
your
be
vote.
safe, I will, move to reconsider.
yeah.
And I'm on the prevailing side, if
Yeah,
I'm on the prevailing side.
You are.
And because, you know, I don't want it to be a thing, I will probably vote against this on the floor, but to move it forward, I will.
Change your vote.
I will make the motion, well, first motion to reconsider. Yes, all in favor?
Wait
Aye.
a second.
Now I'll make the motion to pass this, acknowledging that I'll probably vote against it on the floor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You wait a
All right.
second.
And wait a second. There you go.